Cinesmack contains spoilers of the spoiling type. If you don't want your spoilers spoiled, please turn back now. Otherwise, enjoy the show!
Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds. Lawrence?
Ladies and gentlemen! Welcome to the main event! This is Cinesmack! And the winner is...
Hello, Cinesmacketeers, and welcome to bout number 104 of Cinesmack, the podcast about films by filmmakers. I am your host, Mike Keeler. Joining me tonight is our panel of award-winning judges. First, filmmaker and owner of One Genome Short Productions, Gabe. And to make a long story short, too late. Rowald.
Damn it. That was going to be my line. I was going to say that. Oh, man. Okay, I got another one.
All right.
Okay. It's totally ruined. that was literally going to be my line. This man is drunk. Dead drunk.
Nice.
That's right.
Yeah, I might be eventually here before the end of the show.
Second filmmaker and owner of Arizona Inc. Studios, Andrew. Conversation like television on honeymoon. Unnecessary. Zumwalt. And we lost Andrew.
Oh, wait.
Oh, there he is.
I was just going to say, but a mouth is.
Oh, my. All right.
But just to let everybody know, communism is just a red herring.
It is just a red herring. Third filmmaker and owner of Cheshire Moon Films, Tom. The flames on the side of my face, breathing, heavy breaths, heaving haggis.
Fun fact, this is how you make goose liver pate. And I'm a little concerned, actually, going into this. I'm seeing, that's the first murder by death quote, and all I'm hearing is clue, so I'm feeling this is going to be a little little slanty.
No,
it's going to be a little slanted. I think so.
No, that is our second murder by death quote.
Is it? Okay.
No, we've had two.
Really
we've had two clue and one murder by death because the next one's coming up. Fourth writer, actor, and director Kyle. I say you don't happen to have. Wait, let me say that again. I say you don't happen to have seen a little white wang. Fine.
Little white wang's very fitting for me. So I'm glad we've all gathered here tonight to answer the most pressing question, not who killed Mr. Body, but who killed Jeffrey Epstein.
That got deep really fast.
That did get deep really fast.
Jeffrey Epstein was murdered.
This is a totally different podcast that I'm on tonight.
Yeah.
Come on, everybody on the internet's talking about it.
Taking a political turn.
Everyone's got a meme for it, that's for sure. All right, so I really did enjoy watching these movies, but I'm going to poke the monkey and let him tell you what we're talking about.
Ladies and gentlemen, suspects and victims, welcome to the main event! Tonight, two drop-dead funny murder mysteries attempt to one-up each other and reveal which one survives the night and which one goes home in a body bag. In the first corner, from 1976, written by Neil Simon, directed by Robert Moore, starring Peter Sellers, Alec Guinness, Peter Falk, and Eileen Brennan. Murder by Death! In the second corner, from 1985, written by John Martin Mull, and Eileen Brennan. Clue!
Okay, boys, let's get into this mystery. What you are going to choose. Let's start off with our first round, which is writing.
Okay, so background. I have seen Clue 20 times. I love Clue. It's really, really funny. I'm sorry, I'm like really distracted. So it appears like things aren't going to work out with me and my wife. And so I'm kind of like really distracted right now. She told me today, we're talking at dinner, and she said, she goes, just looked at me and she's like, I'm sorry, I just don't find Clue that funny. So I just don't know how we're going to work through this, but we'll figure out.
I'm sorry.
I know. I know. So it's okay. It happens to the best of us, I guess. But
perhaps some counseling will help.
I love Clue. I think Clue is very, very funny and really, really well acted. And so when we put these two together, Murder by Death was one of those movies that everybody's like, oh, if you like Clue, you should watch Murder by Death. And I kind of just was like, yeah, but I don't really want, it's like, hey, if you really love your wife, you should check out this other girl. And it's just like, I'm happy with my Clue. We're fine. But Murder by Death is a smoking hilarious, side piece. And I was
well said.
So I went into it, and I honestly don't remember the last time I laughed that hard and that much at a movie. I mean, I was literally rolling on the couch. I was laughing so hard, and the cast is just top notch. But we'll get to that. I'm here to talk about the writing, and so maybe my expectations were dimmed a little bit because I was like, oh, it's 1970s. This isn't going to be. It's the writing isn't going to kind of be as risque as we used to know, but it was like, I mean, some of the jokes they were saying were just like, it was really wonderful writing. And if I had to, so now I'm stuck. Now I need to choose, do I stick with Clue or, do I marry the older Murder by Death? Which one do I like more? But when it comes to writing, I feel like I want to give it to Clue because as I got to like the last 10 minutes of Murder by Death, I started to realize, I was like, well, they've like really set this house of cards up, and it really needs to kind of come down in spectacular fashion to really sell the whole murder. I mean, that's the whole point, right? When you watch a murder mystery movie, it needs to have a really compelling ending that you don't see coming and is convincing. And it seems like instead Murder by Death went with a really crazy, whacked out ending that you definitely don't see coming. But at the same time, they're also kind of making fun of those murder mystery movies, the Dark House on the Hill movies, and like when the two of the Wang and his son get back in the car, and he's like, was there even a murder this weekend? And Wang's like, yes, we murdered a perfectly good weekend, and it was like was there? And everything was just so twisted and convoluted that I really don't know what happened. And I like to have a pretty firm grasp of the story when I'm done watching a movie. Whereas Clue, on the other side, they did it 3 times over using the same, 90% of the movie, which I thought was very impressive. I don't even know how you would write something like that to branch out with 3 different endings like that. So anyway, that's the episode of Cinesmack. Thanks everybody for listening. You can check us out on the web.
It really is the tale of 2 movies. One movie, I feel, Clue, gets stronger as it gets towards the end, and the ending is the highlight of the film. Anchored by Tim Curry giving a blockbuster performance, being out of his mind. I mean, must have been so much cocaine going on because he is running and sweating and yelling like a maniac. And he's amazing in the end of that movie.
He's great.
Murder by Death, the complete opposite. Starts with a ton of great gags. I mean, has a million hilarious jokes, and then goes completely off the rails at the end in a very unsatisfactory way, in my opinion. When I watched Murder by Death, I'm in the same boat as you, Tom. I've seen Clue 20, 30 times in my life. I adore that movie. I had never heard of Murder by Death until someone, I think it was you, Tom, who recommended this matchup or I
Yeah,
can't remember
so.
who else was. Okay, so I'd never heard of Murder by Death, and I watched it this week for the first time. I've only ever seen it once, and I am really sad I haven't watched it before because it's hilarious. It's written by Neil Simon, who's a very well-known playwright, and the gags in it are amazing. Very dated now. Obviously, you could not make this movie with the social sensibilities these days, but a million great jokes in that movie. I mean, gag after gag after gag. And we'll talk about the cast too. I can't think of two movies that have we talk about like a lower budget parody comedy movie. These are all-star casts all the way around in both films. And I so enjoyed the gags in Murder by Death. It's almost on that parody level of something like an Airplane or a Naked Gun. It goes so far. Like, it's not just a send up of the murder mystery. It's like meta, knows what it's doing at certain points, and it's like a full on parody.
Yeah.
One of the things I really wanted to point out about Murder by Death I love is that a lot of the characters in Clue are fleshed out, but they all kind of have similar gags. They all follow similar, I don't know, patterns, I would say. In Murder by Death, the different sets of companions, they all have different levels of comedy and intricate gags written for themselves that are all in character. And I absolutely love that as like the ensemble piece of the movie. I don't know. That thought's not very well fleshed out, but I like the writing of both these movies. I think they're the opposite on where they're the strongest, though. Clue strongest at the end, Murder by Death weakest at the end.
Yeah, both of these are well written, and I don't think I've seen Clue for a long time, and I was laughing out loud at some of these jokes. I was like, oh, that's funny, and some of the sight gags, I just thought were fun, and the little plays on words, and I just feel like Clue was really, really well written. And then they handed it off, which we'll get into in the next category. They handed off a well-written script to a crew of fantastic actors. I felt like Murder by Death, to me, I enjoyed, and I got some chuckles out of. But it was a different kind of laugh. They were different kind of jokes to me, and I just didn't feel like as strongly connected to Murder by Death. I thought it was well written, and there's the obvious kind of like parody and spoof parts of it. But it fell flat for me at some points, and like you guys have said, the ending left me a little bit confused. Like, what happened? Who did what and why? I wasn't quite sure what happened at the end. So I was left a little bit unsatisfied. We got three great endings in Clue, and we got one so-so ending in Murder by Death. So I felt a little let down.
My only difference I would say is that I noticed in Clue there's a lot more physical comedy I was laughing at, and a lot more running around and actual physical laughing and falling down and things like that. I found it was just very. That's really hard to do, to pull off physical comedy. That's still, it still holds up today. It's still humorous. I still laughed quite a bit. Murder by Death, I felt the writing of the dialogue and the little quips and the little play on words and stuff was where most of the gag came from. I have seen both of these movies multiple times throughout the years. I've even seen Murder by Death and Clue, on TBS Saturday afternoons, and I'll stop when I'm doing it. I'm like, I gotta watch this because it feels like a classic, I guess. I guess I've never had a big problem with Murder by Death's ending due to the fact that I guess I looked at it as, was there a lot of Mission Impossible going on right at that time? Because it felt very, this is popular. But I just kind of took it as one of the funny gags to just throw in one more stereotype with everything else that I was just like, okay. But I will say that writing 3 different endings and using the same dialogue, but different characters saying it and playing it in a different way, that takes talent, because that seems like a lot. But I don't know. And then things that you guys said, I agree.
Yeah, sometimes we do get into we become Cine agree instead of Cine smack sometimes, but it's justified at times.
I think y'all suck. So
Fair enough.
Well,
no.
Well, let's put it to
We
a
knew
vote.
that
I
already.
agree.
Before we leave the writing, the one thing too I want to say is that both of these movies, they kind of, what I thought the way that they assembled their cast, where Murder by Death used the classic mystery writers as their protagonists, and then Clue obviously uses the pawns from the game, I thought was a really obviously that's the only way Clue was going to do it. But they gave them personalities, and what's really kind of funny is when you play Clue now, these personalities have kind of like etched themselves onto the pieces when you're playing. I don't play Clue a lot, but when I play Colonel Mustard, it's Martin Mull. But with Murder by Death, and it's fun, and I'm sure Mike will get into the trivia, but all of the other mystery writers that they were, and mystery novel characters that they were going to try and incorporate into this movie, I like what they did. I think 5 is a good number, but I think that was kind of a clever concept, to have these mystery writers come together to find out who was the best at solving mysteries, and to see Charlie Chan and Miss Marple and everybody all together. That was kind of a cool little take on it, and a nice surprise too, because I didn't catch, like 15-20 minutes into it, I was like, it's Thin Man, I totally get this now. So I like to see what they're doing. So a little bonus for their writing.
Is this a movie based on a game that we actually agree they did a good job?
Well, this is a board game. So
yeah,
board game. I just said game.
No,
they've made other board games into movies. Let's not forget Battleship, boys. Okay.
Waiting for that Connect 4 film to come out next year.
Shoots and Ladders.
I was thinking Hungry Hippos.
Shoots and Ladders is way too interesting. I mean, come on. Connect 4 would be
Hungry
spelled
Hippos.
It should be SHOOTS.
Yeah. Put Clive Owen in it.
Shoots and Ladders.
Shoots and Ladders.
Oh my God.
One's a retiring cop, and the other one's his new.
It is a
His
fireman.
new partner. Oh, there you go. As a fireman.
Yeah. The ladders part is.
Yes.
Oh, Jesus.
Yep. Write this shit down.
Careful, Mike. You're going to
cut
get a
this
job
out.
in
Somebody's
Hollywood
gonna
if you
steal
keep it
this
up.
idea, Mike.
Oh, that's awesome.
All of our ideas are now copyrighted by Cinesmart.
I totally agree with what you guys said about Murder by Death. It had been at least 20 years since I'd seen that, and all I kept thinking was, oh my God, this is like Airplane. This is like Naked Gun. And I think Kyle was the one that said that. I laughed more at Murder by Death than I did at Clue, and maybe it's because I know what's coming with Clue. I mean, I still laugh, but I laughed harder at Murder by Death. I just had totally forgotten the majority of the film.
It's got legitimately 50 great gags in it.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe more.
Oh yeah.
Like awesome interactions, hilarious dialogue. The acting is spot on.
Mm-hmm.
It's still
Well, there's some problematic acting, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
But the interaction between people was great, and the dialogue was so snappy. And Peter Falk, to me, oh my God, man! I'd never seen Columbo. I know nothing about it, but his dialogue was great. I don't know how much of that's written.
Fantastic.
But him and Eileen Brennan were my favorite part of that movie.
Yeah.
Are we talking about acting? What the fuck just happened? Did I miss?
Yeah, we
Let's vote and we'll move on.
transitioned.
Yeah,
we
no.
We have a structure here, ass face.
We're going to vote.
Oh wow, this is getting rough.
Okay.
Now that is
So now we're going to
smack.
send a smack.
There we
Bitches.
I won't argue about the movies, but I will argue about the structure of the podcast.
All right. That's
Tom,
Get in line. What?
vote.
Oh,
Ass face.
shit. I'm not ready. No, I had a plan for this. Clue, because of the ending.
All right, Gabe.
Yeah, Clue for me too.
And Andrew?
I think I'm going to be the death of this podcast. I'm going with Murder by Death.
All right. Kyle?
Oh, I so badly want to say Clue, but there are so many great gags in Murder by Death. I'm going for Murder by Death.
All right. Tom Stoppard was initially approached to write the Clue screenplay. He worked for a year before giving up and returning all the money he had already been paid. Executive producer and story writer John Landis next approached Stephen Sondheim and Anthony Perkins, both of whom asked for far too much money. Can you believe that? Stephen Sondheim? Yeah. And Tony Perkins.
Or Clue?
Yes.
What?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Tom
That's
Stoppard
really
would have
weird.
been Tom Stoppard would have been really good.
Neil Simon remained on the set to take care of rewrites for Murder by Death, as he did with this movie's sequel, The Cheap Detective. Simon took such a shine to Sir Alec Guinness during production that he told him if he did not like anything in the movie, he'd immediately rewrite it for him. But Guinness assured him it was great fun for him.
Oh, that's cool.
And also in the writing, I suppose I should put in there that during in between takes and when he was not on set, he was actually reading the Star Wars script.
Well, I was still waiting for him to say something cool about, the Force.
Right.
He was practicing with the Force on the grips in the PAs. All right, second round. Acting.
Wow. Could we have two better movies for acting? I mean, these ensembles are crazy.
What?
I think, yeah. I think these both ensembles are great overall. There's a few sore thumbs in there, but I think the ensembles are fantastic. They work so well together. Their performances are great. But I think we have the. Maybe we should just address the elephant in the room, and talk about Peter Sellers in Murder by Death. By today's standard, through today's lens of political correctness, that performance really is not appropriate.
Can I offer why it might be?
Why it might be appropriate?
Yeah. Is it?
Yeah. Well, good luck. But I have a hard time believing that is in any way appropriate at all, because it's so it was distracting to me because it was so stereotypical, and I'm like, okay, this is just not right. But please enlighten me. So at that point, Hollywood had gotten a lot of flack for what they call yellow face casting, for casting, white actors into Asian parts, and John Wayne as
right,
yeah,
and so it was from what I understand, it was Peter Sellers' intention to make fun of that racism, to point out how ridiculous it was and how over the top and wrong that it was, and.
Perhaps.
So through that lens, I'm kind of like, okay, and it's satire, and I kind of get where they're going through it. But then, and then Peter Falk comes in, and he has his lines, the slanty eye lines, and I thought you guys always looked that way. And I was just kind of like, oh, guys could have really had a moment there. So then I start to question, legitimacy of, are they
I don't.
fair?
If that was their intention, I don't think it was as successful as something like Blazing Saddles. I think we've talked about it before. I don't think Blazing Saddles could be made today, but it still somehow transcends that, and it is a clear satire on racism. But in this instance, I just didn't feel like that was the case. I felt like it was kind of, and I get it. It was a different time. And Peter Sellers was possibly, a box office draw, and we want to have him in the movie so we can make money. But it just, I don't know. It was hard as a modern moviegoer to accept that as acceptable.
Well, did he become? I mean, was that character because he does a similar in what is it? Dr. Fu Manchu something. Peter Sellers plays a very similar character. He plays an old Asian, wise guy that's he's like 180 or something like that. You know what I'm talking about? Do I have to look this up?
I don't know it.
I don't think I've seen it, but I know what you're referring to.
The Fiendish Plot of Dr. Fu Manchu.
Okay. I was going to say he's also done it in a couple Pink Panthers, if I remember right, as well.
Yeah. So I mean,
and I don't know. Just I just didn't feel like it. I don't know. For me, it didn't transcend into satire. It seemed stereotypical, kind of inappropriate. But that was one of few. There were just a few performances that really didn't hit me right. I wasn't a big fan of Truman Capote's performance either. I think he had the physical characteristics for that character. Like he had that look that they were looking for, but I didn't think his performance was all that great. And then the guy who played Mr. Body in Clue, to me, I didn't think he was good at all.
I totally agree.
And is his name? His name is almost like a joke too.
It is. That's not his real name. He's the lead singer of a punk band.
Right.
Oh.
And he looked like.
I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah, he's the lead singer of a band called Fear, and he's done a couple acting gigs, but he's not by any means like a professional actor. His main reason people know him is he's a
well, that explains something.
Vocalist. Yeah, he's definitely the weak link in that movie. You can see
for sure there were so many great
nearly as good
in that movie.
Yeah, and not people even in the main cast. Colleen Camp as Yvette was great. She's so funny. Yeah. And I mean the whole cast does really good with the physical humor, but she gets the gag that she's got big boobs and she's gonna make them funny. She's really good at it, like the physical side of that. Mm-hmm. It's very everybody just seemed to know their place in that movie. What they were doing, they're great.
Yeah, I thought the performances in Clue were just fantastic. I hadn't seen it for so long, and I might have even have been a kid when I first saw it, and I really enjoyed the physical humor, and I thought the physical performances were really good. Even Michael McKean, I thought was great at the physical humor. You know, like where he's where great. They bang the gong. They bang the gong.
Yeah.
He smells champagne, and then he's like, there's a bolt of lightning or whatever, and he hits his spoon in the soup, and he's leaning on a table and it falls down, and there's just so many like great like physical like humor performances in it.
Yeah.
And I just really overall I thought what a great cast. There's so many good people in it, and Peter Falk. You know, every time I see Peter Falk, I feel like I underestimate him every time. And every time I see him, he proves me wrong. Peter Falk is awesome. I really like him. Yeah. He's in one of my favorite movies. Maybe this should be my suggestion. I don't remember. I probably have suggested it before. He surprised me in a movie called Wings of Desire. Which is
isn't he great in that?
He's fantastic in it. And he seems really, at first he seems like, well, you're really out of place in a German independent, like arty film kind of thing. But he's just fantastic. And every time I see him, he really surprises me. So and Alec Guinness, you know, just that voice, his voice, he just sounds like Obi-Wan Kenobi at all times. Yeah. And I don't know. There's just so many great performances in both of these movies. It's gonna be a hard category.
I hate to make this more Cine agree, but I think you're right on a lot of those points. I would say too, I agree with you on Truman Capote being a real weak point. He was nominated for a Golden Globe for that Best Newcomer.
Yeah,
crazy. It's just crazy.
Yeah, I just didn't think. Again, I thought his look was right for the character.
Yeah,
but
it's just
his performance wasn't really that great.
Well, when I saw Clue as a kid, even as a kid, I've always watched older stuff. So the people I was familiar with, Michael McKean, Martin Mull, Madeline Kahn, they're like comedy legends. But the people who really surprised me were people I didn't know. Leslie Ann Warren is Miss Scarlet. She's hilarious. She's great. I didn't know anything about Eileen Brennan. She's the common link between these two movies too. She's in both of them, and they're only 9 years apart, which is like, whoa, she looks very different in these two movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, Peter Falk, maybe my favorite part of Murder by Death. His dialogue, his interactions between him and Eileen Brennan are just hilarious. Yeah. One of my favorites is after they play the gag, where he's talking about being undercover at the gay bar and cross-dressing every night for a month and then they go up to their room and talk about how that was a joke. But then she asks, why does he always have these muscle mags of naked men? And he just says, suspects, always looking for suspects. And I lost my shit laughing. Like, that's funny. Really funny.
It was funny.
Oh, good God. Yeah. So
I kind of wasn't too happy with James Cromwell's performance.
Very weird.
Yeah,
he should always be an old
him.
Man. He looks weird to me young. I mean, that's just me.
I know.
Also, I could have done without seeing
like, is it actually James Cromwell? How old is he? I didn't think he was that old.
Doing an incredibly put on French accent.
Yeah, his French accent was not great. And it's a comedy. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. But, I don't ever want to see him in fishnet pajamas again either. I'm all right without that in my life. But yeah, I agree with you too that the it's let down a bit by some of the ancillary characters in Clue. Mr. Body, definitely the weakest actor.
Yeah.
In my opinion, which is a shame because he's such a focal point.
Yeah.
Other than that,
character.
Yeah. Other than that, the cast is great. Well, one good thing, he gets out of the movie pretty fast.
Yeah, I was happy when he died right away because then it's like, okay, well, he can play a dead body just fine.
Yeah. When I think about Murder by Death, though, and I think about who's the weak link in the cast, I feel like saying the old lady in the wheelchair is wrong because she's not really a focal point, and she's not unfunny.
She's James hilarious.
Yeah, she is. She doesn't get much to do. Yeah. But I thought all the characters were really funny. My one problem, like I said, was Truman Capote, who just felt out of place in it, in my opinion. But the rest of it was really good. Alec Guinness was really enjoying himself. I think he was overacting a bit at times, but that's kind of funny. The stamping scene where he's licking the stamps and rolling his eyes around his head. He looks like Bill Cosby doing that with the fucking eyes.
I was going to say, when he's acting blind is probably some of the best parts.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah. Maggie Smith, man, looking like a snack in this movie too. She's good looking.
She's good. Yeah, she and David Niven are really great together too. I thought. But okay, so I'm going to bring some smack. First of all, I think, when Martin Mull is your second biggest name, I don't think you can go off on, like, look at the stellar cast in Clue. It's like, come on.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding you.
Oh my God, Tim Curry, Madeline Kahn, Christopher Lloyd, Michael McKean. You're right, Martin. That is right. Smack. You can bring the smack, but again, you're just wrong.
I forgot about Madeline. I forgot about Madeline Kahn. So when Martin Mull is your
with her huge tracts of land.
And I don't get me wrong. I am not talking about their performances because everybody in this movie is perfectly cast and absolutely hilarious. It is not. These aren't all A-listers. Even Tim Curry wasn't doing like really huge things at this time either. I mean, if you compare the two casts, Murder by Death has a much. Their cast is much more star-stellar than the one in Clue, but I love everybody in Clue, and they're perfect for it, and they do an amazing job, and I can't imagine anyone else doing it. But I'm not gonna say that, get all googly-eyed over Martin Mull as.
I love Martin Mull. Do you think
what?
Do you think it's a bit now of us looking back and going like, these guys are all really accomplished comedians? Now maybe they hadn't done that much at that time, and so it wasn't as big of a deal. I don't know, but now we look back and they seem like I don't want to say like royalty, but for me, Madeline Kahn is hilarious and has been in some great movies. Michael McKean too, and Martin Mull. But yeah, they're not, box office draws.
No, not
but
like.
But they're like consummate comedians.
But you put it up, you have Alec Guinness and
oh yeah,
Capote and Peter Sellers. I mean, these are like not Truman Capote, but these are like the funniest actors of all time.
Yeah,
and
for the time in the mid '60s or mid '70s for sure.
I mean, and everybody's relates Alec Guinness to Obi-Wan Kenobi, but in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, he was the funniest guy out there, and him and Peter Sellers on screen together is, it's a rare treat. And they don't share much screen time in this, but yeah, I mean, they did, Lavender Hill Mob and Lady Killers and Kind Hearts and Coronets. Alec Guinness has so many great funny movies out there. But anyway, yeah, that's my smack. Because I love the cast of Clue, but let's not pretend that they got Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt together finally or something.
It's not Ocean's 11.
It's not Ocean's 11.
Where they get every star and they're like, "You're in this."
Hey, they did that with Vampire.
Or apparently it's not Knives Out.
Knives Out?
Yeah.
It's not Knives Out. There you go.
Knives Out feels like a modern Clue, right? Is that what they're going for?
No, because there's real movie stars in Knives Out.
Well, it looks more like Murder.
Don't talk shit about Martin Mull like that.
So I'll tell you what, we'll go out on the street.
How dare you?
Daniel?
The odds of anybody knowing Martin Mull versus anybody from Knives Out have got to be really low.
I'll give you.
Yeah,
I'll take Mike Shannon, and I bet I beat you.
But what about
for sure? For sure.
But what about do you think people these days would know David Niven and Peter Sellers versus anybody in Knives Out or anybody?
Probably less than.
Yeah.
Than even people. Than even people in this, just because of the age. Yeah. How far we're going.
And
back.
if you said the guy in Pink Panther.
There you go. Yeah.
Maybe.
I bet. Yeah, but a lot of people would immediately go to
Steve
Martin.
Oh, God, please don't say that.
True.
I'm serious.
I believe.
Jesus.
Nope, that's true.
So I have two things I want to throw out there. We talked a little bit about Peter Sellers and him playing the Asian character. So it makes me wonder, him playing that character opposite of was it Richard Narita, who was Willy Wang, how he felt about that.
Yeah.
I mean, they were on set together. So I mean, how did he take it like, oh yeah, this is going to be funny, or I'm just curious, because he is Asian.
Right. Yeah.
I feel
the fact that he played directly opposite an actual Asian actor is
with no accent. He has no accent. Doesn't put on any
You're right.
accent
He doesn't.
at all.
He speaks very clear. English. Yeah.
That's the only thing that makes me lean towards the way Tom was saying, where it's supposed to be so offensive. It's fun. Like, look at how dumb this is. Well, that they pair him with someone who also is not even his biological son, is an adopted Japanese kid who goes to USC and talks like an all-American boy, uses the word pop all the time. Like if that's the joke, I think that's playing towards that idea of like, look how fucking silly this is.
Well, because I mean, he even drops, when they even point out how he's dropping his prepositions all the time.
Oh God, yeah.
That was hilarious.
Truman Capote yelling from the head of a moose about that's so bizarre.
I mean, how many just being yelled at by Truman Capote over grammar, even if it's on the set of a movie, I'd be like, "Oh my God,
yeah.
Did that just happen?"
I think he's at his strongest when he's yelling, or when you don't see him, like you hear him yelling.
It's just
his slow dialogue and explanation. It looks like it's so difficult for him, almost like he's looking around for cue cards. He's like pausing. I'm always worried he's about to forget his line. I'm serious, man. I was watching him. I was like, ugh. Yeah. I just feel like you could not hold it together. Like, you're keeping the camera on this guy way too long.
So my other big question with the acting then is, so out of both movies, the main character that dies right up front, who is technically the host but isn't the host, are the two weakest actors.
It's true.
Yeah, I feel like
Truman Capote and Lee Ving are both. We have both talked about how they were the kind of the weird one in the entire group, and yet those were the two that both were the body in a sense, literally in Clue, but they were both the body. Is that
I don't know
coincidence?
I don't know. I feel like Clue took a lot of inspiration from Murder by Death. Eileen Brennan does the same gag in Clue as she does in Murder by Death, where she's going to faint and then hits the floor.
Oh, I was going to say there's one crossover joke.
Yeah, the windows in the house look the same. The style of the inside of the house of Clue is very reminiscent to the inside of Murder by Death.
In fact, when they first show up and they're in the foyer, and they hadn't pulled back yet. You know, just with the elevated steps and everything. I was like, oh my God, is this the Clue house? And then they come in.
Yeah, there's even a door right underneath the stairs, like where it goes to the cellar in Clue. It leads into another room in Murder by Death, but it's almost it's exactly the same.
Yeah.
So I feel like they took a lot. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, they may have definitely borrowed.
Well, they borrowed Eileen Brennan directly.
Right. They directly borrowed an actor.
And her gags.
And her she's like, I got this one gag.
Which was actually fun.
That's great.
I do this
It was a different, it was the same gag, but a different fall.
Yes.
Sure.
But it was funny in both. I enjoyed it in both. It's a joke I enjoyed twice.
There's a lot of falling in Clue. A lot of people fall.
Well, there's a lot of physicality in Clue.
Oh my God. How is Michael McKean's health? Does he have good knees? Because he got the shit beaten out of him in this movie.
Yeah. Was it Michael McKean that kept on knocking down as an example of Mr. Body?
Yeah. I still laugh out loud when he sits on that table and just in the middle of the conversation it collapses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's out of nowhere.
It just gives out and he fucking hits the ground. He's such a great physical comedian. It's crazy.
And I've never really thought of him that way, but he really did pull it off in Clue, for sure. The physical stuff was definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Are you ready to put it to a vote?
Yeah.
All right. Gabe?
Well, I'm going to go with Clue.
Andrew?
Oh, this one's really tough for me.
It's really not. It's really not.
It is tough. There's great performances.
Gabe's already
in both.
fucked up. Just go in another direction.
There's great performances in both.
For me, Gabe, and Tom, this is very difficult. You guys can you can feel how you want to feel.
I'm going to influence how you feel, Andrew.
Oh, thanks.
Peer pressure, Andrew. Peer pressure.
But
I'm gonna go with Murder by Death.
oh,
You got him, Tom.
Got him on the hook.
Got him.
Because it's the
we'll
obvious
see where Kyle
answer.
lands.
It's Alec Guinness, man. I think he pushed me over. And
Yeah,
Peter Sellers.
Falk.
And Falk. I mean, the Peters.
Alec and the Peters. Alec and
Two Peters.
Falk,
You can't go wrong with two Peters.
Peter Falk reads to me in Princess Bride. It's like,
Yeah.
ah,
I forgot about that. Yeah.
oh,
I've never seen an episode of Columbo, but if you told me it was this character that did Columbo, I would stream all 10 seasons like back to back.
Well, you should get your subscriptions ready.
Yeah. I don't think it's that character.
Kyle.
He's not quite like that, but
Yeah. Oh, me?
Yes.
Well, I was going to vote for Murder by Death, but I got to stand up for my homie Martin Mull, so I'm going to go with Clue.
I left
you,
the
Kyle.
vote because I bashed Martin Mull.
Don't talk shit about Martin Mull, man. I
How
watched the
dare
Martin
you.
Mull show when I was a kid. Him and Fred Willard.
You voted for Martin Mull over Peter Sellers. Just think about that. I hope
I
you
will always-
wake in bed tonight and go, "Oh my God, why the hell did I vote for Martin Mull over Peter Sellers and Alec Guinness and Peter Falk?
Oh my
What
God.
happened?"
You know what? If I die tonight,
Why
I'll be
you
okay
vote?
voting for Martin Mull.
Why
Yeah,
you vote for
I'm
Martin
putting that's
Mull?
on your headstone.
oh
What?
my God.
Tom?
He voted for Martin Mull.
Yeah, one vote for Martin Mull. I'm voting for Murder by Death because it's a way better cast.
Performances are fantastic in Clue.
They are.
I'm not,
It's great
not
cast,
saying that.
but some of the performances are questionable in Murder by Death. I don't know.
Yeah, that old lady doesn't even stand up, man. Lazy.
Immediately after completing Murder by Death, Peter Sellers was so convinced it was going to bomb, he convinced the producers to buy back his percentage share in the movie, thus depriving himself of a cut of the profits with the movie when it went on to be a hit.
Hopefully you didn't do that with Star Wars.
No, I don't think he did.
Because I could definitely see back then, before it became what it is, you going, oh my God, what is this? What have I done?
Oh, for sure.
He was
I mean,
saying,
if you think about it, Star Wars on a certain level is kind of weird.
He said that a lot when he was on set. He had no idea what the movie was about. Anyway, we're getting off topic.
George Lucas didn't even have it.
No.
Confidence in Star Wars. What are you talking about?
Are we voting?
Steven Spielberg.
Are we voting for Star Wars?
No.
No, stick to the script, fuckers.
Oh, here we go with the structure again.
Thank you, Tom.
No, I don't remember Tom being quite so fascist.
Oh, are we voting on me now? No, shut up.
Yeah.
I vote against Tom.
Good. There we go. Now you're talking.
Hey, everybody! Tom is just a red herring.
Communism.
Communism.
She had friends.
He's definitely a communist.
I'm a communist.
Communist.
Madeline Kahn's short Flames on the Side of My Face monologue was about her hatred for Yvette, the French maid, was ad-libbed.
No.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, how would you even write that?
You know what? I wish she were in it more. I wish Madeline Kahn was in it more. She's so fantastic. I love her so much.
She reminded me a lot of Helena Bonham Carter.
In the film? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I can see that.
Yeah.
But I feel like Madeline Kahn is just more silly than Helena Bonham Carter.
Yeah.
I'm
She's
just
great.
her look and the way that she portrayed herself in certain parts, not for the whole movie, but there were parts I was like, that's who it reminded me of. That's all.
On that note, whenever I look away from Clue and Lee Ving talks, I swear to God, he's a Baldwin.
You know what? He kind of looks like Baldwin a little bit.
A little bit, and he sounds just like Alec Baldwin.
I can see that or hear it.
All right, let's move on to our third round, which is directing.
I felt, in my opinion, that both of these films had a very much stage play kind of feel to them, and a lot of, especially like when it came to a lot of the physicality, because a lot of the jokes and a lot of the hardcore. And let me especially put this out there, that doing physical comedy and directing physical comedy, so the takes are good, and I mean it as in the comedy take is actually good, and it's timed right, and everything else is very, very difficult. So it's not necessarily negative. It's just they very much both felt like they very easily could have been transferred to a stage play, and you just set up a camera and just kind of followed the action. I noticed in a couple of places with Clue that I don't know if I just noticed it now or if it was just a bad VHS copy or what, but I noticed there's a couple of shots in Clue where the foreground character is close enough to the background characters, but the background characters are completely out of focus. And I thought that was really odd. And I'm not sure if it was just a spot. I don't know. So technically, both movies were basically the same, in my opinion. I gotta, throw that in there because I don't want anybody to get upset with me or crazy. But otherwise, very competent directors. Like I said, the way that the dialogue flowed, the way that the action flowed, especially like in Clue at the very end when Tim Curry is running around following him and just the whip pans and the dolly shots and just going back and forth and all over the place and following the action is just, it's phenomenal. He does such a good job. And, I know we've talked about this before, this was older, so the equipment was bigger, it was heavier, it was much more difficult to do all that kind of stuff. So I thought that was pretty awesome. And we talk about Robert Moore for Murder by Death. I like his style. He's very close. He pulls out when he needs to, and then he's back in and close really quick again. And he really pushes that direction with the camera instead of just letting the actors do it all by themselves. And I noted that a lot in this film. Now he hasn't done, he's only done a couple movies that I know of. He's done a lot more and I just don't know it. But I can really see that from him. So yeah, I don't know. I don't necessarily have anything negative except for the weird focusing thing that I caught. Other than that, I thought they were both very well done. I don't know. That's it. I'm short and sweet with the directing because I thought very well. I mean, these guys are good directors. I really enjoyed them. So someone else can jump in and be like, "You're wrong and stupid," and that's perfectly fine.
You're wrong that they're both good. I don't know if I can. Well played. Well played.
Out of everybody in this group, I have directed by far the least amount of movies, and I am not as visually focused and I don't notice. Yeah, well, I don't notice these things as much as you. I think everybody else has much more of an eye for that kind of thing than I do. I think these movies share similar styles, and I think in Clue's part, it's sort of an homage in some ways. They use similar shots and tones. I'm a big sucker for the tone and the feel of a movie. If it stays consistent from the start to the end, that's really, I view that as really positive because it doesn't break my immersion and it helps me get into the mood of a film and forget that I'm watching a movie. And I think Clue's really successful at that. And part of that is the lighting and the way things are. I don't know if you'd call it color graded, or it just feels like from the start when the weather starts to get dark and he's driving in that car, even inside the house when the lights are up and there's a party going on, there's kind of this air of darkness. There's dark wood everywhere, dark furniture, dark outfits. So it kind of keeps everything in the same mood for me. Even while they're making jokes and running around, it still has this murder mystery feel to it, which I think is really interesting because in a lot of comedies, can you keep that secondary genre feel going and keep me in that attitude without getting so slapsticky or bright or out of that tone and mood. Murder by Death, I think one of its big strengths is that, and the same for Clue too, is when you're talking about directing, you're talking about giving actors direction and letting them do what they do, picking the best takes, getting the best performances. I think they get strong performances out of all of the actors involved in these movies. No one feels like out of place, with the exception of Lee Ving and Truman Capote to me. but they're well chosen, well acted, well directed. And I think that's a credit to the director to put that all together and make it feel cohesive. And in a movie like Murder by Death, where there are so many different personalities, keeping it all feeling relative and tight and in the same tone is really good. I think the only problem with that is at the end where it goes a bit off the rails. And I feel like the movie moves at a very quick pace, slows down a bit to get into the mystery aspects. It's only like an hour and a half. Both these movies are relatively short, which is good for a comedy, in my opinion. Yeah. But then at the end, they do this madcap dash, and it almost doesn't register all the things that are happening. In Clue, they do a similar thing where the ending is a flurry of activity, but it's, in my opinion, much better paced. The jokes land. Mm-hmm. And I got to give credit to the director for having 3 separate endings.
Yes.
And for having the guts to release those randomly in the theaters so that, you didn't know when you went to go see Clue what ending you were going to get.
Oh, really?
No, you did. You did. No, you did. You did.
Oh, you'd be told what the ending was.
It would say A, B, or C,
right?
In the list,
but you did not get to see all of them in the way you do.
No,
I
had to go 3 times.
Yes, you didn't. You don't get to see all of them the way you do in the home release. You got correct. An ending. I remember Ed was talking about it.
On my Blu-ray, you can play that. There's an option where you say just play one, and it will just play one version of the Clue, which is one version of Clue, which is kind of cool.
Yeah,
you
I have
know
the
which one you're gonna get into.
DVD copy of this movie, and it has the same thing. So Ed Post was telling me he saw it in the theater, and I think it was either Ed or James. I'm pretty sure it was Ed though. Said he saw it in the theater, and I think he went and saw it 2 or 3 times. He might have seen all the endings. So that takes a lot of guts, in my opinion, because that's not something I don't think you'd see anybody do these days. It's like a risk. You're taking a risk there.
Well, what a great way to get people to go to the theater, though.
For sure.
I want to know how he sold that to the production company.
And I guess I didn't realize that. I didn't know that. I don't think I saw it in the theater. I figured I figured when I saw it, they just did all 3 endings.
Well, see, the way it's on the home video, it makes sense, right? Because they show you an ending and they say that could have happened, but what about this? Well, this is how it really happened. That's cobbled together, and I think that makes sense. And it feels complete. But in the theater, when you just see one of those endings, I don't know how that feels. Because the ending of Clue feels very long to me. Like, it starts ending, and it keeps ending for like 20 minutes.
It's like The Return of the King.
Yes, but an hour and a half shorter.
Right.
Well, which is funny because Murder by Death is the opposite. Because I was watching it, and I'm like, when's this gonna wrap up? And I kind of look on my computer. I'm like, oh shit, there's only 10 minutes left.
Yeah, and here it comes, all in 2 minutes.
Yep,
and it felt like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, Kyle said he used a specific term that I think to me makes the difference between these 2 movies, and that is pacing. And I think Clue's pacing is more exciting and more more energetic at the end. Not only from the acting standpoint, but also from the kind of the editing and the direction kind of standpoint. The story is really accelerating at the end, and I think that makes it makes for a fun, exciting end to that film, no matter which one you see. And I felt like the pacing for Murder by Death was a little bit slower, a little bit more calculated, maybe not quite as exciting, and to me that makes a huge difference. Because I felt like with Clue, it really brought it home for me. Whereas at the end of Murder by Death, I think many of us anyway, have felt like it kind of leaves you hanging. It doesn't really bring it home. It doesn't really finish it off in a satisfying way. And to me, that's the biggest thing. Although both directors get great performances out of their actors in both films, no matter which one you prefer. They're both very competently directed. So this is a hard category too. Both these films are really closely matched.
I like how we're being so nice to each other. Well, it's okay that you like that, but I like this, and it's okay. I like how we're.
Well, I will say one thing about your comment on pacing. I agree with you on a lot of Clue's physical pacing, and especially at the ending. But as far as throwing gags together, there are times in Murder by Death where it is joke, like one after the other. And there were times, especially, oh my God, the line. So this isn't necessarily directing, but I just remember this line and I have to mention it, where Eileen Brennan is trying to explain why Sam Diamond's acting that way, and she says he was shot in the head earlier this week. He shouldn't even be out of the hospital.
Yeah,
I almost cried laughing because she just threw it away. It was just a total blank expression, telling someone that the reason he's acting crazy is because he's been shot in the head this week.
Right. I also thought it was funny.
Jesus.
I also thought it was funny that he had a bullet hole in his jacket.
And
you see it right away, and it's kind of like nobody really makes a big deal out of the fact that
in the back of his jacket.
Yeah. He's got a bullet hole in his jacket. No blood, but there's just a bullet hole in there.
Well, when he tells her they're out of gas, and she says, "I saw a station 5 miles back," and he just hands her a gas can.
What does he say? What does he say to her? He says,
"I'll be waiting for you."
Yeah,
You better believe I'll be waiting for you.
Then there's the gag about the oil when she gets back. Like, you should have told me.
You should have told me before I got the
gas. Yeah.
He says, "I gave you a 50. I didn't know if I'd ever see you again."
See, and that's where I was going, was like with the directing. Well, I don't know if it's directing or acting, but how Clue is just nonstop physical comedy. Like, you laugh at all the physical comedy, and it's back to back to back, and they pull it off really well, especially at the ending, like we mentioned with Tim Curry. And Murder by Death is definitely the lines. It's the dialogue. It's the funny gag, and they just do them. So, I mean, they are both funny, but one's physical and one's dialogue, I felt. So that's damn, it's hard.
That's a hard category. And someone mentioned stage plays. I would watch either of these movies as a stage play. I would love them.
Yeah, that is definitely not a negative. It's just it was very much that way. And I'm sure it was done. Absolutely, it was thought out and thought to be done that way on purpose. Absolutely. I don't know if you could do it, with all the fancy steady cams and all the going through keyholes and shit that they do now. I don't think it would be the same movie. I thought it was.
Find out.
Yeah.
Because apparently there's a remake of Clue in the works.
That's what I've
heard about that.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, though. I'm glad we talked about that, but the thing is, too, first of all, it's Ryan Reynolds and Jason Bateman, and I mean, they really can do no wrong.
I like both of those guys.
And they're very funny. And the thing is, too, it's not. I mean, they're not gonna remake Clue. I mean, they're gonna, like, quote unquote, play another game, and so it'll be a whole nother scenario. Yeah, it'll be the same characters in the same setting, but they're gonna come up with a whole different murder story.
Mm-hmm.
But as the background, and that's the fun. That's kind of the fun of having a board game movie, is that you can keep playing it again and again. As the fine people at Jumanji have told us.
Well, and I do want to point out that I thought it was very fascinating, some of the little hints to the board game that they threw in, and I don't know if that was the director or the writer's choice or both together. But even like when they go into the study and he opens up the envelope, it's like a big manila envelope, and he cuts it open because it's been sealed to pull out all the stuff that he's going to tell everybody, just like the game. Because you have a little manila and all the stuff is inside of there. And I thought, I was like, that's pretty damn smart. Like,
yeah. So, enlighten me. How many movies do you guys know of that have been inspired by board games?
Battleship.
Clue.
Yep.
Jumanji's. Well, Jumanji's not a real board game,
Right.
Is it?
Nope.
Okay.
I don't know, the Game of Life.
That seems like an interesting inspiration. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm getting into the next category. We'll save that for a while.
Ouija.
There are a lot of movies that use Ouija board.
Well, and there's one called Ouija.
Ouija.
Oh, that's right. That's
Ouija,
right.
Ouija.
Is that a game, though?
It comes from Milton Bradley, and if you honestly think that Milton Bradley has some random witch sitting in their production department cursing every single board that comes out of the Ouija factory, then you have a troubled childhood. Because, oh my God, seriously,
that's not.
I want to work at the Ouija factory. That just sounds cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's over there cursing them all.
So you've got Jumanji and Zathura, which were board games in the movies used as a plot device. Game Night, same thing, somewhat.
Jesus, is it just Clue and Battleship?
That is all.
Has there not been a Monopoly movie?
Would that be what would that be like? I
don't know. It just seems like
what's the
Wall Street?
Wall Street, yeah, that's that's where I was going. Yeah.
There's a documentary about Monopoly.
Yes.
Basing a movie on a board game is a bad idea.
Well, it's interesting. It's
just like basing a movie on a video game is a bad idea.
Yeah, in many cases.
All evidence points to it's a very bad idea. We had this conversation last month.
No, not last month. Last
Wasn't
month
it?
was Paranorman and Frankenweenie.
We've had this
That was
conversation
last
over this year.
Yeah, but
All right, hold on. I want to go through. I want to go
that.
through the director's work here. So, Robert Moore started in '73 doing TV shows. Did a TV movie. He worked on the Bob Newhart show for one episode, and then let's see, that's essentially 73 to 75, and then 76 was Murder by Death, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 TV movies between 76 and 78. Then 78, The Cheap Detective, 79, Chapter 2. 82, 83 was a TV series called It's Not Easy. That was his last thing before he passed away in 84. Jonathan Lynn.
So
His-
didn't even see Clue.
His first movie was Clue. Then Smart Guys TV series, Nuns on the Run. One episode of the Ferris Bueller TV show, which was the pilot. My Cousin Vinny. The Distinguished Gentleman. Greedy.
Michael J. Fox.
Yeah. Sergeant Bill.
Which Greedy is a very similar to like Murder by Death and Clue type movie.
An ensemble. Sergeant Bilko. Trial and Error. One of my favorite comedies of all time. The Whole Nine Yards. The Fighting Temptations. Did a video short with Beyonce. A movie called Wild Target. Really want to click on that. And then a TV series, 6 episodes of Yes, Prime Minister. And he's English.
It's interesting to know that Robert Moore then probably never got to see Clue.
No.
He died before it was even released. I wonder if he even knew that it was being... I'm just curious if he was, I don't know when it was written and whatnot, but so that's kind of interesting. Okay, that just killed everything. Cool.
Yep, there you go.
No, I think that's a shame because obviously you'd have seen they took a lot of inspiration from his movie.
Yes.
Would you consider it an homage or ripoff? Yeah, I think it would be an homage too. But Jonathan Lynn did The Whole Nine Yards, and I was on the floor crying in the theater when I saw that.
What's a funny movie?
Oh my God.
So that's interesting because Greedy is definitely because it's a family and it's a rich uncle that dies and the whole family gets together and they all are fighting to find out who gets the money and there's shenanigans and it's a comedy.
Right.
So that's really fascinating that he did the same thing but different.
And it kind of sounds like Rian Johnson's movie or Ryan Johnson's movie or whatever.
And it has it has a huge cast too. Oh, and Colleen Camp is in that too. That's right.
Oh, nice.
But Michael J. Fox, Kirk Douglas, Nancy Travis, Phil Hartman, they're all in that movie in Greedy.
All right. Let's put it to a vote. Andrew.
I am specifically doing this because of the ending, and that would be Clue, because I, A, did not know that they were shown different ones in the theater, and B, having to shoot all of those and put it all together and reshoot it. That's awesome. So I'm going with Clue on this one.
Kyle.
I'm also going to go with Clue.
Tom.
I'm gonna give it to Clue just because they were able to maintain the 180 rule throughout the thing, and that is the minor miracle for me. I don't know how the hell I kept everything straight.
Yeah,
it was very, very impressive. Well done.
Gabe.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Clue too, in part because of the pacing and also because of the ending or endings.
All right. In an interview conducted in November of 2009, Jonathan Lynn stated that he had cast Clue himself. He said that while actors and actresses were recommended to him via the casting department, he made the final decisions. His original choice for Wadsworth was British actor Leonard Rossiter, most famous for the role of Rigsby in Rising Damp. Sounds like a porn. But he sadly passed away in 1984, just prior to pre-production. He was followed by Rowan Atkinson, who was well known in England for his roles in not the 9 o'clock news and Blackadder, but the studio felt he was too unknown to American audiences to be the leading actor in an American production. Ironically, Atkinson would go on to huge success with his character Mr. Bean in America some years later. Jonathan Lind had known Tim Curry since they were teenagers and personally asked him to be in the film.
Wow.
That's
to the benefit of the film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That they ended up with Tim Curry.
Working with such an accomplished group of professionals on Murder by Death made director Robert Moore's task easier and exhilarating. Moore recalled prior to the movie's release, at times we had to stop shooting because there wasn't a dry eye in the house. If the film audiences have half as many laughs as we shared in making Murder by Death, Columbia Pictures will have a smash hit in the theaters. I would like to see outtakes.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh,
I think the outtakes
both
would
of these
be
movies.
fantastic for both films. All right.
I bet they had a blast on set.
I
Oh,
bet
yeah.
they did too. Let's move on to our fourth and final round. Overall.
oh boy. Parody comedy, murder mysteries. A pretty narrow genre, I suppose, when you look at it. Basing a movie on a board game, also very daring. Very little, what you would call lore to work with, but they made it work, and that's crazy. And I think they did that by using Clue as a loose framework to hang a funny ensemble cast, lots of gags and jokes. But they incorporated a lot of the board game into it. The thing about Clue I remember as a kid is always wanting to go visit that house because the house looks so amazing. I read that it's all a set. It's not actually a house.
Correct.
Which is crazy.
There's only one thing that was shot on location, and that was the dance hall. What do you call it? Ballroom. Thank you.
The ballroom. So that's crazy. I love that set. That set could just be my house. I think it looks awesome. Boy, these are hard for me. These movies are so close, and one feels like a successor to the other, so it always makes it a little difficult to judge because one precedes the other and takes notes. But they're so thoroughly enjoyable, fun movies with their different quirks and attitudes. But I really enjoyed watching them in quick succession. I watched them like one day after the other. And I would watch both these movies again in a heartbeat. Clue, I've probably seen 50 times. I probably don't need to see it anymore, but I still enjoy it. And this time when I watched Clue, I watched the actors in the background a lot, and they're not just glossed over. A lot of them are reacting and giving good performances. Martin Mull in particular. I'm going to rep my homie Martin Mull here.
Yeah.
He's doing a great job in the background, and a lot of the characters are. But boy, super enjoyable movies in the weird niche genre. And I don't know. I guess I don't have a whole lot to say. I feel like we've talked a lot of these out. Isn't
that why it feels like a stage play though? Because the camera is on everyone a lot.
All the time.
Yeah, you feel with everybody in the frame, right? Like that you could see them all. Clue would be a pain to do on a stage because of all the different rooms they visit. But yeah, I think they would both work in that way. They're both very interesting and engaging. They're nice and short, which I think really helps a comedy. And they're not any longer than they need to be. I agree with you. I would really love to see the outtakes of this. I hope they enjoyed making these movies because they're a lot of fun to watch. I can't imagine that you wouldn't be laughing constantly or breaking in the middle of some of these takes. I don't know how people stay still and don't react when the physical comedy happens. Like Michael McKean just hits the floor, or Tim Curry just drops. I don't know. I don't know how people hold it together because it's so sudden. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to turn it over to you guys and stop babbling.
Well, and I'll say that Clue actually has a stage play, and it was on Broadway, and it was actually written by Jonathan Lynn.
Okay, now I really want to see that. I wonder if there's video of it available somewhere.
Maybe. I would agree pretty much with what you said, Kyle. These two are really hard. I've watched them so many times. I've seen them both many, many times. I laugh still to this day watching both of them. I'm very much enlightened now that I know that Clue wasn't shown with the original 3 innings because that's the only way I've ever seen it. So that's really fascinating. I didn't obviously see it in the theaters. I think it's really fascinating that even like on IMDb, the popularity of Murder by Death is way up as opposed to Clue. And I think that that's really fascinating because I've always heard people talk about Clue and you should see Clue and have you seen Clue? And I don't know if it's just they know more of the actors or what, but it's just really fascinating that the popularity is so much lower on Clue and actually declining with the cast on both of these movies. I'm surprised they're not both just high on the marks. They are. Yeah, I would say that Murder by Death is definitely a genre, and Clue used a board game to homage it, and they both are very funny in both different ways. And I would watch these easily, time and time and again. So that's hard.
It's I don't remember the first time that I saw Clue, but I mean, obviously, I loved it, and it's I'm getting that point where I recognize now when I watch a movie, and assuming I have 40 years of life left, unless I choke on something right now, that when you see a movie for the first time and you get that flash forward of all the enjoyment this movie is going to give you for, however many more times you're going to see it. Like when I was a kid and I saw Clue for the first time, I didn't appreciate that, hey, you're going to watch this like 50 times and you're going to laugh your ass off a lot. And watching Murder by Death, I had that moment at the end of it where I was like, oh, I'm going to watch this one a lot. Like it's when I just want to, if I'm doing dishes and I want to put something on, I've got my usual go-tos like Moneyball or Italian Job, but Murder by Death now is one of those where I can put it in and the jokes are so funny and so fast that even if I'm just catching 10 minutes of it, I'm going to have a really good time. And so I think that's one thing that I like because it completely blindsided me. I didn't know when I sat down to watch this, like, hey, this is going to be one of your new favorite movies. And it doesn't happen. That'll happen when you go to the theater sometimes, but not often, a movie that's, 42 years old, which is great. Just a really great feeling.
Yeah, both of these are, eminently enjoyable. And it's kind of nice nowadays in our political times and that kind of thing to just have a movie that's just pure entertainment, to just mindless, enjoyable entertainment. There's no message in it. It's just a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed watching both of these movies recently. It just felt like kind of an escape from everyday life. That being said, I have to say that Peter Sellers' performance as an Asian man in Murder by Death might prevent me from watching it too many times in the future. I get it. I'm not being overly critical, but there was something that just kind of like was off-putting about it. But other than that, I mean, it was really, Murder by Death was actually really fun and enjoyable. Peter Falk was just fantastic. His kind of I felt like he was a little bit kind of like Why can't I think of his name? Casablanca. Help me, guys.
Humphrey Bogart.
Humphrey Bogart. He was very Humphrey Bogart.
Oh yeah.
In it, and he's very enjoyable. A lot of great performances. Clue just made me laugh. I just laughed so much. It's like it was kind of unexpected. I'm like, oh, I'm actually laughing out loud. People can hear me in the other rooms laughing at this movie. It was really enjoyable. So I think both of these movies have a high rewatchability quotient, and we talk about that a lot, about rewatchability, and I'll definitely go back to them, especially if I need to just kind of escape and have a good time.
All right. You guys done? Going once, going twice?
Yeah.
Let's vote on it. Kyle.
Oh, God, me first? Oh, this sucks.
Yeah. Sucker.
This is very difficult for me because I had never seen Murder by Death. Like we've talked about, a couple of us have said, seen Clue a bunch of times. But I was surprised at how much I enjoyed it. This is hard. God dang it. All right. I'm going to give it to Clue, but just barely.
I'll put an asterisk down.
Please do.
By your
Careful.
In case there's a tie.
That's
so we'll come back to Kyle if there's a tie.
Oh God.
Tom.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it to Murder by Death. I'll tell you right now, I enjoy Clue more when I watch Clue. But Murder by Death was so much fun. I feel like when I'm 80, I'll look back and people will be like, all right, so it's been 40 years. Which one do you like now more? And I was like, Murder by Death, because the jokes are so fast and so funny, and everybody in there was a surprise. I know Martin Mull and Colleen Camp are hilarious, but to see Peter Falk and Peter Sellers and Alec Guinness act and just be hysterical it's just so much fun.
All right, Gabe.
Yeah, I can see myself going back to Clue repeatedly. I really enjoyed Clue. It made me very happy.
Andrew.
Wait, was that an official vote, or you were just talking about what you liked?
No, he voted for Murder by Death.
Oh.
Yeah, I voted for both. We have one extra vote.
Fucked up.
Yeah. No, I vote for Clue.
I am going with Murder by Death. I just love that movie. They're both so good though, but Murder by Death, it just gets me every time. I don't know.
So we might be getting close to a tie here. We might have to come back to Kyle.
Nah.
All right, trivia time, boys.
Woo!
So Kyle, I had this piece of trivia after you, before you even brought up the fact that you love the house in Clue. After the production concluded, the mansion was bought and redecorated by the producers of Dynasty, who used it as the Carlton Hotel.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
In Murder by Death, the screaming woman sound used as a doorbell, which, by the way, I totally forgot until I just read this, is Fay Ray's screams from King Kong.
No way.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. What do you know?
So, yeah, there you go. Let's
Whatever happened to Fay Ray?
let's move on to recommendations. Let's do that, and I will tally up the votes. We'll start with Tom.
So my suggestion is not out yet. I recommend everybody go see Knives Out, Rian Johnson's new black comedy. I haven't seen it, but everything that I know about this movie indicates that it will be really, really good. The director is fantastic. The cast is amazing. The script looks great. The early reviews from Toronto Film Festival are that it's one of the best movies of the year. So I think that's really all you need to know. I don't think I need to see a movie to recommend it. because
Why not?
you know,
Why not?
because
You
that's
suggested books, and yeah, no, that's fine.
So now I'm suggesting movies I haven't seen. The half of the movie industry, I mean, is movies you go see on Friday on opening night. You are seeing that at the word of people who haven't seen it, except for I guess critics. So, you know, I mean, you're going to go see it because your friends want to go see it. So, I mean, there's a sense of trust when you go to the movie theater that you're going to get a really good experience and setting expectations. I'm not saying Knives Out is going to be the best movie of all time, but you should go see it because it's really got it's really checking a lot of the boxes that you need for a good movie. So, and Addams Family is not as bad as you'd think it would be. I throw that out there too.
I wanted to see that.
Oh, by the way, we didn't even talk about it. The little people at the beginning of Murder by Death.
Oh yeah, actually that was fantastic.
They were drawn by Charles Addams, creator of the Addams Family. That's why they had that look.
Oh wow! I didn't know that.
Yeah, I thought that was great how they did that. I was like, how did they do that? You know, because it was just little parts of it that moved, the eyes or whatever. Yeah, I like that. That was awesome.
By the way, Tom, I shouldn't give you crap for not seeing a movie and recommending it because Kyle's done that. So,
there you go.
Yep, there you go.
Oh yeah, I believe I recommended an Avengers movie like 6 months before it was out.
Yes,
I was right though. It was good.
Yeah, Gabe.
Well, I don't have anything. I try to do movies that are related to what we're talking about, but I don't have that this time. I recommend a documentary called SOMM, SOMM, and it's about a group of guys trying to become master sommeliers. And it's really quite interesting. You don't have to like wine or know much about it. They actually don't spend a lot of time talking about wine, but they show these guys trying to pass the test to become a master sommelier and what they go through to do so. And it was really quite interesting. So if you even kind of halfway like wine, I would recommend you check out SOMM.
How'd you spell it?
SOMM.
Okay. I got really excited because I thought there was a World War I documentary I hadn't seen yet.
Have you seen
Battle of the Somme?
They Shall Not Grow Old? Or
have
you seen that yet?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh.
Because it's been it was not easily available in the U.S. for a long time, but it has been. It's been like on HBO and stuff recently, so it's more easily readily available.
So we're going to go off on a really bad tangent here, but Adam Savage, guy that was in Mythbusters, has a new show. He actually goes down to Peter Jackson's personal airfield, where he has a company that makes World War I planes, and he has a hangar or an aerodrome full of reproduction World War I airplanes.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
so rich.
Yeah, so it must be
So
nice
rich.
to be that just ridiculously rich.
Yeah, he even had like an old double-decker bus that he drove out to the field so he could watch them. They were trying to see how hard it is to actually win a dogfight during World War I. It was pretty cool.
So are these reproductions like airworthy? Can they fly these things?
Yes, they fly. They are.
So they're
made,
not just for show.
They are made with the original blueprints.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and Midway's coming out this weekend.
I was gonna. Yep, I'm going Friday. I gotta see it. The whole Battle of Midway just. Anyway, yeah, I like it a lot. Okay, Andrew.
My recommendation, I'm gonna stick with the parody homage kind of thing. And I'm going to recommend Naked Gun. So if you haven't seen The Naked Gun, the Zucker brothers are amazing and they're funny. And The Naked Gun comes from it's kind of an homage parodied of The Police Squad. And it's got O.J. Simpson, but the bigger ones are Leslie Nielsen, Priscilla Presley, and of course Ricardo Montalban.
Heroin, Frank. Heroin.
It's got Khan in it, and so everyone's excited about that. But yeah, Naked Gun, definitely I highly recommend if you haven't seen that, and please do it before they try to remake it, because the originals, there's some really good dialogue and physical comedy, and you know what? Weird Al is in The Naked Gun.
Yes, he is.
And funny story. This is my side quip to The Naked Gun. He used to take, before he was married, he would take a girl on a date when Naked Gun was in the theaters, and he would wear the same shirt that he wears in the movie, with her not knowing that he's in the movie, because he's just weird that way, and that's hilarious.
He's Weird Al.
Yeah. Anyways, Naked Gun.
Heroin, Frank. Actually, my go-to quote is, "It's Enrico Palazzo." Kyle.
Nice beaver. Thanks. It just had stuffed yesterday.
All right. So
that is a perfect lead into Kyle. So.
Yes. So rather than go for the parody angle, I looked up mystery movies, right? So like murder mystery movies, and was reminded of a movie I absolutely love based on one of my favorite books, The Maltese Falcon, from 1940, somewhere in there. Humphrey Bogart, based on a Sam Spade novel by Dashiell Hammett. Really cool movie if you like black and white murder mysteries. I love the book too, so I recommend you check that out. Also, do want to throw in a real quick Googling murder mystery movies. Something I recommend you not watch, and that is Murder Mystery on Netflix with Adam Sandler. I was convinced by someone who shall not be named that it'd be a good time to sit down and watch it. And I'm surprised it did not claw all of my insides to the outside of my body while watching that movie. Adam Sandler is literally just a mustache who cashes checks at this point.
It wasn't.
He does not care. He is not interested.
Whoa. Uncut Gems looks amazing.
Okay, that's cool. But his Netflix deal is him and his friends going to expensive places and fucking off. Because that's all they do in that movie. It's garbage.
Oh, it's not that bad.
Okay, it may not be the ridiculous 6 bad, but it's fucking bad.
It's not as bad as like what, Twin Sister or whatever one.
Jack and Jill?
Jack and Jill.
Oh, you mean the one where they make Al Pacino do a Dunkin' Donuts rap?
Yeah.
That guy's ruining other people's lives now. Jesus. Anyways.
What about the Murder on the Orient Express, Kyle?
That's bad too. The new one.
The new one.
The old one's good.
Yeah. I haven't seen the new one. The old one's great. My recommendation is I'm going down the Peter Sellers route. And my favorite Pink Panther movie is Shot in the Dark. Directed by Blake Edwards, written by Blake Edwards, starring Peter Sellers, L.K. Summer, and George Sanders. And if you haven't seen a Pink Panther movie, what's wrong with you?
Yeah,
I've never seen a Pink Panther movie. Go ahead and yell at me, Tom.
Really?
not the Steve Martin ones.
Right, the Peter Sellers.
No, I've never
ones.
seen any.
You've got to watch the Peter Sellers ones.
Strikes Back is my favorite.
Strikes Back is my second favorite. I agree with you on that. All right, let's poke the monkey. Find out who won.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Your winner by decision is Clue!
Oof.
Because we had the one round where everybody voted for Clue.
Everyone voted for Clue. Yep.
That tipped it.
It did. All right.
Man, good movies.
Good.
Fun
Great
movies.
movies.
Yeah, they were fun.
All right. Where can people find you? Maybe invite you to a murder mystery. Tom.
People can generally find me hosting murder mysteries, except a little twist. One of the guests doesn't leave, so. And it's funny. We don't call them. We take the T off. We don't call them guests. We call them guests who's gonna die. I'm also on Facebook, and I think I just murdered this opportunity for laughs.
Gabe.
You can kind of find me on Facebook, but you can check out some of our films on onegenomeShort.com.
All right, Andrew.
Well, you can go out to Arizona Inc. Studios.com, and you can see all of our films from all different genres and all different lengths. And the exciting part, so you can get acquainted with all of our social media, because we're all kind of all over the place. But if you want to follow us this weekend, starting on Friday all the way through Monday, we will be shooting a movie competition with the rest of the world. There are 44 countries this year in the competition, so we will be doing some live streaming. We will be definitely hashtag following along with 4 Points Film Project. So we'll have a new movie up soon. So that's kind of exciting. So we're prepping for that.
What are the dates on that?
Because you may not hear this. So November 8th through November 11th. So we start at 7 p.m. on Friday, and we have to have our movie file hash sent in by 11:59 on Monday, November 11th. And so we'll get all of our elements and things like that today, and have to write and shoot and music and sound effects and all the fun stuff. So, yeah, it's going to be a long, fun weekend.
All right, man. Well, good luck.
Yeah, good luck to you.
Kyle.
So I'm on Instagram. I have never posted. I just lurk there. I have a couple funny Twitter handles I could give you, but you've heard them by now. Mostly, though, I am just chatting in the hashtag Epstein was murdered. You can find me there. I'm always there. That's always trending.
All right. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can find the studio films and stupid little videos that we've done in the past at Southsider Studios on YouTube. And I've been told not to use the royal we because someone's grandfather died fighting the British. We would appreciate it if you could leave us a review on iTunes or whatever podcasting service you use. You can contact us at cinesmack@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Just search Cinesmack. For December, how can the same shit happen to the same guy twice? It's McClane versus McAllister as Die Hard 2 takes on Home Alone 2 for our 10-year birthday.
So excited for that.
It's going to be wild. For Gabe, Andrew, Tom, Kyle, and myself, thanks for listening, and go catch a flick.
I am your singing telegram.
This has been a test of the Southsider Studios podcast system. This was only a test. If this were a true lack of entertainment, your head would explode. Go to iTunes and subscribe to our feed. Just search Southsider Studios.